right, so today we're going to talk about vertical and horizontal shifts of trig functions. Yesterday's lesson, we just looked at stretching and shrinking, and so that's where the A and the B came in. And if you'll recall, our Y values were changed by A by multiplication, and our X values were changed by B by division. Okay? And we also said if you didn't like to do division by B, you could also multiply by the reciprocal of B. Okay? All right, so we're adding in then to this mix H and K. And hopefully your brains are clicking over, hey, I've seen H and K before, because that's the transformation notation we used back in Algebra 2. So if you'll recall, H, when we made changes to X, right, H was the horizontal, which is our left or right movement. And H was a little bit weird for us because when we added H to X, or we had a positive H, the graph shifted left. And when we subtracted H, the graph shifted right. A little bit backwards to the way we thought it should happen. Okay. And then with a vertical shift, that's up and down. Okay. And K, though, behaved like we thought it would. When we added K, we got a shift up. And when we subtracted K, we got that shift down. Okay, A is still our amplitude, right? It's the absolute value of A gives us amplitude, and our period is going to be 2 pi divided by B. Okay, so I'd like to make a note here, because that we'll use later on, that B would equal 2 pi divided by P. That's going to be handy later on. Okay? All right, let's take a look at our first problem. And we are to graph one complete cycle of the sine graph. And this one will be 3 sine of x plus pi over 2 plus 1. Okay, so we take it apart. Amplitude, that comes from A. So this would be the absolute value of 3, which is 3. Okay, our period, we said, would be 2 pi divided by B. And in this case, B would be right here in front of the parenthesis, but since no number is written, that means 1. So our period is simply 2 pi. Okay, our horizontal shift, right, comes from right here, right, plus pi over 2. So that means we're going left pi over 2. And our vertical shift, plus 1, means we're going up 1. Okay, so since we're shifting, and the original sine graph and cosine graphs were off the x and y axis. We began at 0, 0, or we began at least on the y axis, and then moved out from there to the right, and that was our original sine graph, or period of sine, and then we would go from there. So what we want to look at here is we're shifting left pi over 2. So our new y-axis, and it's not really our y-axis isn't moving, but our new vertical axis, right, is going to be at negative pi over 2. And we went up 1, so up 1 means our new horizontal axis will be at positive 1. Okay, so just going to graph that in. All right, so this period being 2 pi means from my new vertical axis to the right, 2 pi is going to be one complete cycle, right? So this is a distance of pi over 2. So another pi over 2 gives us pi, right? Another pi over 2 and another pi over 2 gives us 2 pi. So our one complete cycle is going to end here at 3 pi over 2. All right, so now we want to think back to, well, where did sine begin? Sine of x, right? So sine of x, and you can look back at your previous notes, was at the origin at 0, 0, right? And then it went to pi over 2, 1. Pi was back at 0. 3 pi over 2 was at -1. And then finally 2 pi was back at 0. Okay, so these zeros, right, would then be on my new horizontal axis. So if I was at 0, 0, right, that's the origin, my new, quote unquote, new origin is here at -pi over 2, +1. Okay, so I go a distance of pi, and that's where my next 0 would be. So this is pi over 2, another pi over 2 makes a distance of pi. And then finally at 3 pi over 2, that's where my new 2 pi is. Okay, so those are zeros, and no matter what I multiply by, whether I stretch or shift, right, they're still going to be lined up here on my new horizontal axis. Okay, so the next part I want to figure out is, well, where are those nice curves? Because I know sine should look something like that, right? So, and I know it starts up because this is a +3. Okay, so I'm going to come up here somewhere. Well, it tells me right here I have an amplitude of 3. So from my new horizontal, 1, 2, 3, somewhere along the 4 line is going to be my maximum point. Okay, so somewhere up in there, and what we know is that this point is halfway between my two 0 points, right? So from here to here is a distance of pi, so pi over 2, which is actually, right, would be halfway. So that's where my maximum point is going to be. Okay, then I know that my minimum point is halfway between my remaining two zeros. Okay, so that's here at pi, that's halfway, and we go down 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're actually at -2 on the axis, but that's my one complete cycle of the equation or function 3 sine of x plus pi over 2 plus 1. Okay, so the domain, still all real numbers. The range is going to be from -2 to 4 inclusive. All right, let's check out another one. Okay, so we have our A value gives us our amplitude, so the absolute value of -2 is 2. Our period will be 2 pi divided by b. Here's b, so that's going to be pi over 3. Okay, and this is one I recommend take it over to the side and multiply by the reciprocal, so 2 pi times 3 over pi, which simplifies to 6. Our horizontal shift is here, +1, so that means left 1. And our vertical shift, -2. Okay, so that's going to be down 2. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up where did we shift to? We went left 1. So from here to here is a distance of 1 on the x-axis. Okay, so that's my new vertical. And then down 2, so from 0, 0 down 2. Having a little trouble there, sorry about that. Okay, so those are going to be my new axes. All right, and I period of 6, so from -1, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to end here at 5 on the x-axis. Okay, And I know I'm going to go up from this line 2. Okay, so 1, 2. So that puts, this is my maximum. Let me change color so that'll stand out. Okay, this will be my maximum here, somewhere along the 0 axis. And then my minimum will be down 2. So 1, 2. So somewhere along -4. Okay. So that's the within that rectangle will be my one complete cycle of this graph. All right, so the first thing I know is cosine begins at 1 and comes down and goes up, right? And this was at this was 0, 1. This was pi -1. And then we had 2 pi 1. Okay, so along the way we had 2 other points, right? Which was our pi over 2 was 0, and 3 pi over 2 was 0. Okay, all right. So because cosine originally began at 1 and went down to -1. We have this negative here, right? So the negative tells us we're going to start down. Okay, so we're at our minimum point of -4, and then we're going to go up to our maximum point. Okay, so as we're coming out here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections of our graph. So we're going to take this length here, which is it's 12 unit marks, okay, because we're counting by halves. So there are 12 of these marks, and we're going to divide that by 4. So every 3 lines will be another of our points. So because this first one was our 0 point, that's going to be on our horizontal axis. So from here 1, 2, 3. And that's where our second point would be. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3, and we said we'd be at our maximum. Then 1, 2, 3, we'll be back to our 0. And then finally 1, 2, 3, we'll be back down to our minimum. Okay, so our cosine graph comes up and then comes down. Whoop, kind of flattened out there. Sorry about that. More curvy. Okay, so that's one complete cycle of the cosine, -2 cosine of pi over 3 of x plus 1 minus 2. Okay, so our domain, still all real. Our range goes from -4 to 0 inclusive. And that's it for that problem. Okay.